Hi, welcome to my channel. It's finally happening, guys. I am finally setting up this channel, putting out some videos. So I thought it would be great to have the first episode as my review of the low carb cruise. So it has been about 10 days since I debarked, since we got home. So I had enough time to kind of settle in and kind of monitor how my effects were after the cruise. And I thought I would just share with you a quick pros and cons of going on a cruise as someone who is ketogenic, low carb, carnivore. And on top of that, but not just any cruise, but a conference on a cruise, you are learning and you are in fellowship with people who are like-minded as you, but also enjoying vacation. It's like the best of both worlds. So let's jump into what this cruise was. Low carb cruise has been around for a while. And what we do is the days that we are on sea, we are in conferences for most of the day, but you still have plenty of time to go and enjoy yourself in the evenings and enjoy the stuff that's going on the ship. So our conference was done around 3:30, which gives us plenty of time for dinner. Did some comedy shows that we went to, played in the pool, watched movies while sitting in the pool. We enjoyed dinner with amazing people around our tables. I'm trying to think what else there was. There was so much, it's hard to remember all the different things we did. Now, I went with my husband, my mom came, and my son. All of us were together. So I was a little bit limited on what I was able to do because I had my 7-year-old with me, but I still had a lot of fun. It was probably one of my most favorite vacations. The days that we're not at sea and that we're at port, that is just for you to enjoy. So the cruise we went on, it stopped at St. Croix, St. Thomas, San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Coco Bay, Bahamas, which is owned by Royal Caribbean. So we had beautiful weather. The first day was really, really humid in St. Croix, so we were about 2 hours on the port. But then you get back on the ship, and they even have stuff going on port days as far as the ship's routine. So if you just want to stay on the ship, there's plenty to do in there as well. So after St. Croix, because it was humid, we went back to the ship. The next day was St. Thomas, and that was by far my favorite day. We drove up a mountain to the very top to reach the north side of the island to get to Magens Bay. And the water was crystal clear. There were sea turtles. It was only $7 to get in the beach, but I think it was $10 or $15 each way for the taxi. And it rained a number of times when we were there, which was just like a quick 5-minute rain. There were fishes around us. So I had my goggles on, and it was just the most relaxing time I've had in years. Talk about trying to get to this parasympathetic aspect of my nervous system. So then the next port was Puerto Rico, and we had a photo session booked with our family. So we get to some beautiful places with nice backdrops. The colors of Puerto Rico is just beautiful. We went out to eat there with some friends that were on the cruise. We actually went to church there as well. And then the last day was Coco Bay, which was a nice cloud coverage and breeze. So, and we just hung out on the beach, let the kid play in the slides, things like that. So that's kind of like a brief summary of what we did on the ports, right? When the ship was docked, what did we do? So now, as far as the conference side of it, I mean, I've been to a number of different conferences. I'm a conference junkie, and I love learning, and I love getting to meet these people who have inspired me to be on this health journey. The difference with low carb cruise is it's a small group. And if you've ever been to some of these big conferences, there's lines. You have to wait for a long time to talk to these people for like 5 seconds, maybe a minute if you're lucky. Here on the low carb cruise, these speakers, like, I was up on the 12th floor. We were going to go for a morning walk, and Dr. Bickman and Dr. Tro and Dr. Tro's wife, and they were just standing there talking, and then we got to hang out and just talk, and then even go for a few laps around. A lot of people were hanging out at the gym, working out together there, and you get to sit at dinner or meals and just, we had a wonderful meal with Dr. Brian Lenskis and just picking his brain and becoming friends, considering he doesn't live too far now. So it really feels like community. If community is something you're longing for, I would say this is a fantastic thing to do to join on the next low carb cruise. The other aspect is that you're actually vacationing. Like, it's not just going to a conference, learning all this stuff, and then going home. You get to enjoy a vacation. And if you have family you want to bring, or even friends, you get to do it together. You get to learn together. Again, community is so important when you're on a journey to getting better, to healing yourself, right? So you're building that community. Now, if you are somebody that you have kids and you're like, oh, how am I going to go to the conference and do things with my kids? Well, the ship that we use, Royal Caribbean, has a kid care for the majority of the day, except for meals, lunch and dinner. They want them to be with family and enjoy time together, which I 100% agree. But conference days, I sent Isaac to the kids care and he loved it. Now, he is super picky with not being bored and making sure he's entertained. So the fact that he actually enjoyed it means that it was enjoyable. It's not just putting the kids in front of screens. They were playing games together. They were doing crafts, activities, all kinds of stuff. In fact, there were days that he didn't need to go and he said he wanted to go. So that's really beneficial. And they have it even in the evening. So suppose you as a parent want to do something with your spouse, but like maybe like an 8 o'clock show or something, but you don't want to leave your kid alone in the room. They have it in the evening. It's just a little extra cost. We didn't utilize that because we like going to bed early anyways. So it was fine. So kid care. The other aspect is you move a lot. I think one of the biggest struggles I hear with my clients is the struggle to get moving and exercising and walking. Now, my Fitbit had broken on the first day, so I didn't get to count my steps or see, but I just physically know I was hardly sitting down except for conference days. But even those days I would get up between talks and like go for laps around the ship or whatever it was and then come back. So that's really helpful. You're moving around a lot. You're getting your exercise in. I was actually able to stay in my ketogenic macros for a lot of the time. I did get off plan a couple days. I will confess. And depending on who you are, but there are some things on the ship like endless soft serve ice cream, all you can eat. I never went there because I knew if I had it once that it would be hard to stop. So what I had told myself was I'm going to give myself one day to have the ice cream. And I picked the very last day so that I wasn't going to be tempted the whole time I was there. And it was the day we were on Cocoa Bay, Bahamas, and they had the ice cream on the island. So yeah, I had an ice cream. And for the moment, I enjoyed it. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, though, as far as do I regret having that, as well as a couple other desserts. It's coming. So but besides those two desserts, I was able to stay ketogenic. I mean, I had lobster tail. We were having escargot every day. I would have never guessed that I would enjoy escargot. Like every day that they had it, I enjoyed it. Okay, so escargot, lobster tail. They had New York strip steak almost every day. Well, not almost every, like half of the time I saw it as an option on the menu. I didn't have it every time because a lot of times I had other things like pork sirloin. The vegetables were not cooked well to me, so I didn't even have those. And then for lunch, we would eat at the Windjammer often, and we had burgers, they had hot dogs, chicken wings, all those kind of things. Now, I'll suffice it to say, most likely a lot of these things were cooked in seed oils. I'm not going to deny that. So if you are somebody that is like, I never want to touch a seed oil, or maybe you never can, maybe you get flared up and stuff, probably not the best for you, okay? I, on the other hand, know that I have a liver that detoxes these things, and I keep every aspect of my life as clean as possible. So for that week, I was taking a few supplements to make sure my liver could cleanse out whatever junk was in the food, right? So that was kind of my plan. I'm not dogmatic. I'm going to do the best that I can with what's given me. They did have real butter at the table. Dutch butter. There were these little square packets. And so a lot of times if I had a leaner cut of a meat, I just put like a bunch of that butter on it and it was able to keep into ketogenic. Now, I would measure my ketones and my glucose. My glucose was fantastic the whole time. My ketones were not registering as much. It was always between like 0.2 and 0.5. However, I was walking a lot. So when you check blood ketones, you're measuring what's in the storage form, right? So I believe I was in ketosis. I was just using a lot of them because of all the movement and the heat and the walking around. When I got back from the cruise, I was so curious to see what my weight would be. I was like, gosh, am I going to be the same? Maybe I lost weight because of all the movement. I got back and I was the exact same weight. I was still the same number, give or take like half a pound, right? I don't remember the exact point, whatever it was before I left. So that made me really excited because traveling, you can get a little inflammation, you can get some water weight stored. The fact that it didn't move, I felt like was a huge success. I was very happy. I mean, if it went down, I'd be happier. But the fact I didn't gain, even though I had the ice cream, and I think 1 or 2 other days I had a dessert that had some sugar in it. Most of the desserts, I tried picking the no sugar option. Now, we could get in a whole tangent on that, on what did they use to sweeten it. I don't know. I didn't ask. I could have asked and I could have found out, but I didn't feel like picking that battle at that time. So one of the other things that I really loved about this trip was, if you have been following me on Instagram for a while, you know that I've been trying to regulate my nervous system. Okay, there's something that's kind of like keeps me in sympathetic mode longer than I should. And I'm not really looking for opinions in the comments, but I have been working on it for a while and I am getting there. I have been slowly, that's one that takes a long time to fix. That being said, being on those relaxing islands, and I had purposely taken time off from work. I only one day met with my clients. The rest I wanted to make sure I was staying free. That was so relaxing to the point that I felt emotion come out of me. Like, we were in the taxi going from Megan's Bay back to the ship. It was about a 20-minute drive, I think. And looking out, I mean, there was no window. It was just open. It was like an open Jeep thing. And I was sitting on the side and I was just looking, like there was something that came up within me that I just wanted to start crying. And there was nothing bad happening. There was nothing significantly good either. It was just a pleasant time. And it was this release of something that was trapped in me, and I have no idea what it was, but I literally just started crying and just thinking about it, like I want to start crying again. I looked over to my husband and I said, Jeff, I don't know what it is, but I just want to start crying. And he looked a little concerned. So I told him, no, it's not anything bad. I don't know what it is. I'm so moved. And it goes to show the power of nature, because we were surrounded by nature. I mean, those islands don't have all the things that, you know, Phoenix has as far as environmental toxins, EMFs, and I didn't have the stress of work and caretaking at home. I mean, you do still as a parent, but I made sure to keep it minimal. So that was probably one of my other highlights, was just knowing, wow, there's something inside that I am releasing and feeling freer. Okay, so those are the benefits that I have found on the cruise itself. Now, the conference was about 300 people, give or take, attending. And we had speakers such as Jessica Reynolds. She talked about the strongholds in our life, speaking truth to them. So anytime you have a lie that's holding on to you, you need to speak the truth to it, right? And we can't just do that in our mind and let it be a battle going back and forth. Speak it out loud. You know, she gave this wonderful example of a client she has who just had a habit of compulsive eating in the car. It wasn't that he was hungry. It wasn't related to any trauma or any bad. It was just a bad habit. That's all it was. And he started speaking truth, meaning he would say every time he got to the car, I don't eat in the car. 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 And the first week was probably weird. And then the second week was like, eh. And then he started noticing he wasn't eating in the car as much. His wife said, I forget the exact details, but it was something like his wife said, hey, why don't we stop by blah, blah, blah to get some food and eat it in the car? And he had this immediate reaction. I don't eat in the car, because he built this new pathway in his brain, convincing himself and making himself believe the truth that he does not eat in his car. And this is something I have started practicing. I'm nowhere near successful yet, but speaking truth, because I have a habit of grabbing a small piece of chocolate anytime I go in and out of the house, like when I leave and when I come back. I'm not hungry. I'm not stressed. There's nothing. It's just a habit. So I have started practicing this and saying, I don't eat chocolate when I leave the house. I don't eat chocolate when I leave the house. And it's getting there. Slight progress, but I'm excited to see where it takes me. So Jessica Reynolds, wonderful coach, works with food addiction. Dr. Tro also works with food addiction. He gave a wonderful presentation about that, about food addiction, how it works in our brain, what are the lies we're believing, how can we help it? Dr. Brian Lenskis, he's a metabolic doctor. He spoke on sleep and stress, something we don't hear enough about. I think we are starting to hear more about now, where we're always like, oh, is this food bad for me? Should I restrict more? Should I get rid of the good, healthy foods too? Like, he emphasized how important stress management is and how important prioritizing your sleep is. My good friend Michelle Hall gave her testimony. She's another primal health coach, and she shared her testimony going through, I might get it wrong, but I believe it was gastric bypass surgery. She got one of those surgeries, how it didn't help her weight loss. It didn't help her relationship with food. And she shared with such beauty and power and conviction of what her story is. So I really applaud her. I was so excited for her. Bronson, Dan, and Natalie Grosso, they shared their stories, Natalie talked about muscle, and Bronson talked about principles versus, I forget the other P word, but basically, do you follow this protocol? I think it was that, principles versus protocol. Basically, do you follow this protocol that was given out because it's popular, or do you figure out what works for you, right? And he went through a bunch of those kind of things. Amazing Dr. Bickman, obviously talking things, insulin, energy, fat stores. He talked about those kind of things. Dr. Dom D'Agostino and his wife both gave presentations about exogenous ketones in the brain, studies on ketogenic, and what kind of things it can help with. Dr. Tony Hampton, just wonderful. And I'm probably forgetting some people. I was trying to remember, but just wonderful speakers. Debbie, Kathy, Michelle did a wonderful job coordinating this. We had great grab bags of different legit ketogenic foods. Oh, obviously Maria Emmerich spoke as well. I don't know how I forgot that one. But yeah, so it was a great time. One of the other points that I got from the Low Carb Cruise, which I thought is really important to start honing in on and to preach out to whoever will listen, is this is the Low Carb Cruise, right? Years ago, lots of people were low carb. That was the thing to be. And then ketogenic came into play and people said, oh, let me be ketogenic because that's better. And then carnivore started grabbing traction. And then everybody said, oh, if keto's good, carnivore must be better. And we really wanted, well, not we really, it was really emphasized that one is not necessarily superior than the other. For some people, low carb is what they need. Some ketogenic, some carnivore, some maybe something in between. It doesn't really have a name. The key is we need to stop believing that there is this hierarchy of you start low carb, then you go keto, then you go carnivore, then you go lion, or whatever it is, right? Whatever works for you, that's what you stick to. If carnivore works for you, I applaud you and I'm so happy. If ketogenic works for you, like it does myself, I applaud you and I'm so happy. If low carb is good for you, again, I have given clients all of the spectrum on there, and some of them don't even have a name. We just say, let's figure out what foods work for you, right? So I thought that was really good. And another cool part of the conference is none of us coordinated our talks, right? We just knew, oh, I gave a talk too. I forgot to mention that part. None of us knew what the other was going to talk about, yet each day you saw like common threads, such as strongholds or, the food addiction aspect. There was another day that managing stress was a good theme. And for my talk, one of the things I discussed, I told my story, basically how I ended up being ketogenic. And I'll make another video sometime giving that story on here. I've done podcasts with other people sharing my story, but I think it's time for me to make my own here on my own video. So I shared my story of, 12 years old, having my first seizure, what happened after that, how many medications I was on, and to the point of, okay, now I feel good, but I still have weight to lose. And even right now, I still have weight to lose that's not going anywhere. But at the end, I put a picture of my son and myself. We went hiking up a mountain by our home a few months ago before the trip. And I put that picture because I have finally found what perfection is for me. For a long time, I thought perfection was hitting this certain number on the scale, hitting a certain waist measurement, a certain clothing size. But looking at that picture, I realized, no, that's not what perfection is for me. Perfection for me is being the wife the mother and the daughter that God calls me to be. I want to be able to climb mountains with him physically and metaphorically. I need to be able to take care of my mother. And that's who I'm called to be. And I can't do that eating Eggos and Pop-Tarts like I used to when I was little, right? I need to be eating nourishing food. And I want to find peace and joy in the life that I live. I don't find peace and joy in measuring a scale number or measuring a tape measure number. Now, do I do that still? I do, but I'm not as obsessive about it. I'll do it maybe once a week. Or if I see the number go up, I don't care, right? I'm just like, I'll keep it in the back of my mind. But if I feel good and my hormones are good and balanced and I'm happy and I have patience with my family, those are the things that matter. So, do I regret going on the low carb cruise? If you can't tell by my video, I absolutely do not regret it. It was very enjoyable, and we are actually officially signed up for Low Carb Cruise Alaska 2025. I am so excited for that because I have dreamt of going to Alaska since I can remember, like for many years. So this will be amazing. It's definitely going to be a different trip than the Caribbean, different suitcase packing, different excursions, but I'm excited for it. Oh, one of the things I forgot to mention, I said if I regretted having that ice cream on the last day. Now, what happened on Friday, that was our last day. Saturday was the day we got off the ship. Friday, all our stuff had to be packed, put it in the hallway. So there's suitcases lined up in the hallway. We are in the front of the ship. So we felt the waves a lot more than people in the back. When the ship was headed back to Florida, I think it was going faster than it was before because I woke up for 2 hours in the middle of the night, just feeling the waves and hearing them crashing and hearing the luggage crashing and my hangers in the closet. Well, not mine, but they were like the wooden hangers. They were clashing. So there was a lot of noise, even though I had a sound machine. And I was up for 2 hours, I think from like 11 to 1. And so that got me a little nerve-wracked. Now, if I was in ketosis, Saturday morning, I would have felt okay. This is one of the benefits of having a ketogenic lifestyle for me is in the past, if I had a night like that, screw it. I wouldn't have been able to do anything that morning. We probably would have gotten a hotel or something for another day. Like I wouldn't have been able to get on a plane and get home. So normally when I'm in ketosis, I would have been able to just get up, get my stuff and move on. However, I was so brain foggy and tired for that day. And I even felt sensations that I thought were auras that happened before a seizure. And I was really nervous about it when we were at the airport. Come to find out later, I think it was a combination of the lack of sleep, the stress of getting off the ship early in the morning, and then also sea legs. That was a phenomenon I didn't know about. So the combination of those three really made me feel like I was going to have a seizure. And I didn't. But to me, I've come to this point of was that ice cream worth it? No. Did I learn my mistakes? Yes, I did. Am I perfect? No, I'm still a human and I still have temptations. And that one I gave into and I probably shouldn't have. So it just was a good reminder. That's how I used it. I used it as a good reminder for me to be like, next time I'm not doing this, right? So I came back and I didn't do any resets or any fasts. I just started eating again how I normally eat, right? Strict ketogenic, tracking my food to make sure I'm not overeating is a big one. And I'm actually down 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds since I got back from the ship. So tracking is a big thing for me. So I hope that this review has helped you and I hope to see you on one of those cruises. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can get future notifications of all the videos that I'll be coming out with. I have a whole list of different ones I want to do. I'm going to keep them simple, basic, short, so it's easy to watch and not have to, pause every time your kid calls your name. Some of them might be longer. I'll be doing interviews with people. So yeah, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. See you later.